Welcome in. It's Lock, Stock, and two smoking picks here.
Two smoking hot picks.
Maybe some more if you play your cards right. He's the Coach Mark Lieberman. Give him a follow on Twitter. I just recently found out, thank you to Justin Soforo producing today's effort, it's Coach Lieberman. You didn't know your own Twitter/X handle, so I was giving out the wrong thing. He thankfully put the right name on there, so we were good. I'm Phil _ Baker on Twitter. Thanks.
It's not my strong point, Phil, is the technology.
A ton of things to get into. We're going to give you some gambling advice. Thanks to our great friends over at... You heard it here first. We're going to get you some thoughts and sounds with college basketball starting soon.
It's going to be bleeped. It's not going to be bleeped out, hopefully, in the very near future.
We're working on it. Tons of things to react to. You got the red-white game with Louisville basketball. You got UK Pro game, the Pro Day, I should say. That was making its round on Sports Center. Seth Greenberg was there. Kevin Agande. We can react to some Cal clips that we've played on the radio show for the V Show. Bobby V in San Juan, Puerto Rico. The coach and I and Nick Valavano filling in for him as we speak. And then tons of college football reaction. A sloppy condition apparently with Louisville, Pittsburgh, Kentucky. Can they bounce back?
That kind of leads me into my pick for the game.
Oh, sorry about that. That's what we have there. Kentucky, Missouri, the Fighting Eli. I always say Dinklewitz. They butchered his name so many times here. I know it's Dinklewitz. He looks like Scott Satterfield. That's all you need to know about him and the resurgence that they've had at Missouri and some other college tidbits as we inch closer to college hoop season in the top college basketball market. Damn it. And as always, pop culture, which I know the coach has strong opinions about.
Well, as we get on with the show, the lock of the week is check out on Apple TV, Flora and Son. You will not be disappointed. Go with it. That's your lock. That's your first lock of the week. Okay. 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, but an 8.17 on the Lieberman meter. So
stamp it. Seal of approval right there. Who's in that, by the way?
You've got... It's Bono's daughter is actually the star.
Okay.
Does a great job. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Robin.
Is the other star, right? The cinematography, the music, spot on. Good stuff.
Okay. Well, we know why we have you here. You're a basketball Benny. College basketball is getting very, very close to starting. I know it was a hot topic for me. I was adamant about it. I was very upset that the college or the red-white game wasn't streamed anywhere. We've gotten some reaction from some of the guests that we've had on this week, but obviously coming off a 4-28 season, which keeps being the talking point. Kenny Payne seems to have a little bit more pep in his step at some of these press conferences. From the press conferences, from some of the guests that we've had on this week, some reaction to what you were hoping to see in the exhibition game coming up next week in the red-white game.
Yeah, and so to piggyback that, next week with the exhibition game on Wednesday, we will be able to break down on film. We've been teasing it. We've been talking about it. And it hasn't come to fruition yet, but we'll be able to show you exactly what we see, what I see, what can affect the games. I've been on all the shows with our networks talking about it, but until the games actually start, because no matter what, the scrimmage, you're not going to get, these guys are all familiar with each other. They've played against each other for months, so you're not going to get much out of it. Coach Payne seemed pleasantly I don't even want to say surprised, but he's happy with the names that have been circulating. The Trey Whites, the Sky Clarksville, those guys have impressed him. They played well in the scrimmage, which I was not at. But again, we'll really be able to tell if this team has turned the corner defensively. And what I really want to watch, and it starts with the exhibition game, and it doesn't matter who they're playing. I want to see guys in the stance. I want to see that their ball screen defense, not just coverage, the other three guys involved. I want to see how they are in transition defensively and offensively. I want to see how they share the ball, because you have a lot of guys who are ball dominant. So I want to see all the little things that affect winning, and to think it doesn't matter that they're playing Simmons College. I want to see those things next week.
Sky Clark, Trey White look to be kind of some of the stars on this team, as well as some of, the Curtis Williams of the world, Karan Davis, some other names that you're hearing over and over again. Switching gears to the Blues side, something that was televised, something that was on TV. We had Keith Farmer of WLEX down in Lexington talk about UK's Pro Day. We had Mark Story of the Lexington Herald Leader break it down, obviously playing some sound with John Calipari at Sports Center, just in his element. Takeaways and expectations expectations for a very young Kentucky team, but expectations high nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're guard heavy, they're wing heavy. They're not going to rely on force feeding the post because it kind of bogged them down last year. And I think this team will be able to switch 1 through 4 and do a lot more things defensively. But what Keith also talked about was he didn't get much out of the pro day. What he got a lot out of was their foreign tour, where he seemed to think that this team was very unselfish. Their athleticism showed. And so he's kind of stock up on that team right now. And so I think Kentucky's loaded at that position, and you win with guards. So I think that's a good sign as their schedule starts to ramp up. If you've Kansas on the horizon.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there. You've talked about this ad nauseum last March when we were discussing our Final Four picks. San Diego State you loved, UConn you loved. I'm kind of putting you on the spot for this, so feel free to just say you want to see the opening weeks of college basketball. But just some storylines in general from the college basketball national landscape of some teams that may be flying under the radar of not the blue blood caliber that you are looking forward to see this year.
Yeah, again, we'll wait a week or two as the season starts. But, a couple of teams, because the transfer portal, it just affects so many ways. Alabama is going to be really strong. That's going to be a really strong team. My former boss, St. John's, it's going to take time. His teams always do. You're not going to see a great product early in the season, but I think as it goes on, I think they're going to be a team to reckon with. And honestly, going back to the Mountain West and going that path.
This guy in the Mountain West, man, I'm telling you, for those that are out there gambling, now legal in Kentucky, by the way, great friends over at. He knows his stuff when it comes to the Mountain West. I'm telling you.
What was the on-by percentage last year?
You were
in the 70s, I think.
Yeah, you were on it. You were on it. I interrupted.
We're going to make you some money this year. We are going to make you some money. But a team that is going to be a factor is another one of my old bosses, New Mexico. They've got great guard play coming back. Jamal Mashburn Jr. is back. They got Nelly Joseph, the transfer for Iona, their big man, transferred to New Mexico. They are really, really good. So that's a team to look out for, especially early in the season. They might be an early play if you want to get on a win total and look at their over-under for wins and jump on that before the season starts. You could probably do it with our partners at, our sports gambling partners at. So, that's a team to look out for.
He's the Coach Mark Lieberman. I'm Phil Baker. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that effing bell. All right, on to college football. Obviously, euphoria around here with the Louisville Notre Dame win, obviously, but you got to get back to business with an ACC foe now in a sneaky, what many are saying sneaky. I don't want to speak for you, or not as
You're
convinced by that.
To speak for me.
Yes,
Phil.
but 1-4 Pitt, Pat Narduzzi, the bring Brohm home guy of all people, has barely slid into his DMs. But what are your thoughts about that game?
That's always a narrative because you see every single show talk about, here's your trap game, here's your setup, how are they going to get ready? It's part of the season. They're not concerned about how well the other team has gone so far. Their job is to prepare, to look to see what a Pitt team wants to do. They're changing quarterbacks. They're in a state of flux, and it's not in a good state. I think Louisville has been very consistent with what they're doing. Pitt's been very susceptible to the run. The weather conditions are going to be not great for throwing the ball, which plays right into the hands for what Louisville wants to do. I see a Louisville win. I see a low-scoring game. So my pick is Louisville with the under, and if I had to throw a bonus in, I would take Louisville. I see something along the lines of 31-7 for Louisville in that game.
7-point favorites for those that are scoring at home. Thanks to our great friends over at CW Network 630. For those that can't figure it out, you can get an antenna for free.
Finish up the Gilmore Girls, watch that, and then you can go right on to Dawson's Creek and
Vampire Diaries. I'm trying to think Arrow, if that's being rebooted. But
it's not a bad show.
I've heard it's sneaky good. They did the thing with kind of the Infinity Wars and the multiverse before all that stuff out there. I agree with that. CW 630 pregame beginning. I believe that'll be about 3 3:00 with Blankenbaker and his father heading up to Pittsburgh. Taylor Lynch back here in studio. Switching gears though, Kentucky.
We've got your smoking hot pick.
Yeah, for Louisville, you're beginning to convince me. We shared some Chris Felica stats on the V show when we were filling in and just saying coming off of what Pittsburgh has been able to do as having struggling records, they react well to games that are undefeated and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But, Jeff Brohm, I think he's acknowledged it and he's leaning into it. I was listening to a podcast in which, the Brohms are essentially, the Mannings locally here. Right. And I think our buddy Rutherford said something about that on the Mark Titus show on that. And I was like, you know what? That is the, so I think they've played in the Big Ten, even though it is Purdue, but they've maybe learned from some of those mistakes. And this team has the more talent, as you've pointed out multiple times. So I think I will go Louisville. I think Pitt will, I think it'll be closer just because of the weather conditions. I'm probably going to go with maybe a 24-21 Louisville win.
So you're looking at a Pitt cover and an over.
Yeah.
So you're diametrically opposed to my pick.
Yeah, pretty much.
See how that plays out. Again, I can't stress enough. Great stuff around here. We appreciate Justin. We appreciate everybody that's been involved with all this. I'm super jacked to the point where we can start showing, which we've been talking about, but we want to bring it home where we're going to be able to visually show you some of the stuff that we're talking about. Maybe some football for sure. But really excited to break down this Louisville basketball team this year with each game, with each scrimmage, things that we see, things that will make you understand why this team can be effective this season and why they might struggle.
He's the Coach Mark Lieberman. I'm Phil Baker. Right here on the ESPN Louisville Plus channel. So be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that effing bell. Next up, SEC, Kentucky and Missouri. Nice little rivalry these two teams have had right there. I don't know if it's on the Kentucky side of things, more so Missouri. Look, I think we played some sound. Bud Elliott, a friend of the show on the Cover 3 podcast, said, realize who you are. I said jokingly the Mufasa portion of the Lion King where he looks down from the cloud says, remember who you are.
Right.
And I think that can be true for Kentucky football of where you are. But also in the same breath, you got to take a next step. There's no harm in losing to the defending national champions, even probably going for a three-peat and probably one of the best players in college football in Bowers. But the overall landscape of this program is a fascinating discussion where the bulk of the fans land on that. So what do you make with that being said, coming off a loss to Georgia, what Kentucky is able to do with Missouri?
Yeah, it kind of reverts back to we were talking about Louisville and their confidence and they're breaming with it and they're excited about their game coming up. A Kentucky team is pissed off. Shit, they want to go out there and they just want to bash in the heads of Missouri. And I think they're going to play like they did against Florida. And again, Missouri's got to bounce back. They come off a heartbreaking loss to LSU. I just think they have the physicality. I think they can pound the ball. With Davis, they have just such a strong running game. Their defense is solid. I see a bounce back by Kentucky.
2.5-point favorites for the Wildcats as Missouri visits Lexington. That's the Keeneland, Kentucky. And you got Big Blue Madness coming up tonight as well. So it's quite the weekend down in Vegas for that. I think I'm going to go with Missouri there. I want to see what, Dinkowitz has built a good foundation. As much as I make fun of him, again, Drinkowitz, Eli Drinkowitz. He's building something there. And look, Missouri has had success, and it seems like they split these games with that. So I'm curious to see what they can do with that. But I will be taking Missouri there. All right, next up, just the college football game of the weekend. I say we will discuss the Washington-Oregon game. Washington is a 5-point favorite, I believe. 3-point favorite. I had my eyes. I had to get my glasses out there. What do you like in that game?
We're checking with our sports gambling partners at.
Sorry, I had my eyes. That's operator. The app's wonderful. I just couldn't see. But 3-point favorite for Washington. Who do you like there?
Forget all that. I can't see. I think the total was 67. I think you might hit that by halftime. I think you're just going to see. And even if you don't, it's going to be a just scoring fest. It's going to be back and forth. I love the over.
All right. Let's head over to the NFL for some picks right here. Thanks to our great friends over at. Let's go to the London game. Lamar Jackson, they're difficult to figure out. It's a 9:30 game. NFL Network taking on the Titans. Baltimore, 4-point favorite. Who do you like there?
I like the Ravens. I think
They've given away some games.
They have, and even the Pittsburgh game. I mean, they have a chance to go up. Joey Porter Jr. gets an interception on Odell Beckham in the end zone near the end of the game from the 8-yard line. I like the Ravens in this one. What say you, Phil?
I think between the Colts overtime loss with the Ravens, then you sprinkle in, just giving away the receivers having stone hands for Lamar Jackson. They look against your Pittsburgh Steelers and the steel curtain up there. But I mean, these are games they've just been given away. And Lamar Jackson seemingly has taken the high road on these things. But I mean, at some point, you got to take care of business. Tennessee, they're a hard team to figure out. But I think Baltimore will take care of business there. All right, switching it up. What are you watching? You gave us something with JGL in it. That's on Apple TV. Plug that show again.
It's a movie on Apple TV, Flora and Son. Really enjoyable, sweet movie. It's not on the level of The Godfather or any of the great cinematic movies of all time. But it's very enjoyable. 94% on Rotten Tomatoes and 8.17 on my meter. Really enjoyed it. And just started again Loki season 2. I rewatched it. That's the one show they've got right.
Okay, so, I've heard good things because when you kind of gave me the
I rewatched it.
I'm proud of you for doing that, by the way.
I might have had a gummy when I watched it the first time.
Okay.
So the second time, and then I watched the second episode. Yeah, it's well done. They've done a nice job with Loki.
Our wall's a little bare. If you want to give us any free swag, thank you to our friend Ross at Coors Light and Miller Lite, River City Distributing. If you want to give us any swag, we also got some great stuff from Body Armor. We got some more stuff coming. 337 West Cardinal Boulevard if you want to drop some of those things off. All right, last thing.
Phil, before you get to the last thing.
Okay.
This thing is taking off like wildfire. Like this is, McAfee, watch out. Like from what we're talking about. And again, ad nauseum, when we start breaking down stuff, we want questions. We want you to tweet at us. We want you to, however that works with the shorts and the YouTube and
Justin, this is Justin's world.
Then they'll hit us with questions. We'll answer those questions. We're really excited about that. I'm really excited about this Louisville basketball season and being able to break it down for the fans so they can understand the whys and the why nots. But go ahead, Phil.
To put a bow on pop culture, I saw something on Twitter. Again, preface this was everything. Like I said, I thought players were peeing on the O at the Oregon-Colorado game.
Right.
I may have been gotten by the internet right there. I openly admit this happens to me. So I saw something on there, Twitter or X for those that are scoring up. Christopher Nolan apparently being approached to possibly do some Bond movies. Have you seen anything about this?
I have not.
So I'm just, again, it looked reputable. I just want to put that out there. So
it's also rumors of Aaron Taylor Johnson being our next James Bond.
Interesting. Yes. I think he could pull that off.
Oh, I think he'd be fantastic.
Okay. Yeah. Well, stay tuned. Maybe we can verify that next time on Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Picks.
And whatever, send it in, subscribe, all that fun stuff that people know better than me. I just want to talk about pop culture. I want to talk about hoops. I want to talk about all that stuff that I enjoy with our group. But subscribe. For
the coach, Mark Lieberman, for Justin Soforo, our producer efforting this, Nick Valavano is around there eating a sandwich. I'm Phil Baker. Till the next time, like, subscribe, and hit that fucking bell.